Truth be told, March is one of the quietest months of game releases that I've seen in quite a while. It's reminiscent of a summer month that doesn't have a lot of releases. There are some interesting games, but definitely no game that I would say from a marquee standpoint is like a title that people are super excited for, at least at a mainstream level. Which is interesting because March historically has been a relatively big month for game releases. This March is just not that big. Obviously, we're living in a different world state, so you do have to take that into account. But again, as I mentioned at the top, there are still some cool games that you should be looking forward to. Some PlayStation 5 upgrades, some PlayStation 4 new release that obviously are playable on PlayStation 5. So without further ado, let's get right into it. And I want to start things off with a new game from Square Enix, and that is Balan Wonderworld. It notes, welcome to Balan Wonderworld, a wondrous all-action show the likes of which has never been seen before. Over 80 different costumes give you all the action that you could possibly imagine. Obviously, I wouldn't go into this game expecting a mature and gritty story. However, it is a very colorful game. Like, if you want to talk about games that are vibrant, Balan Wonderworld definitely has that going on for it. I should note that there is a demo available, so go check that out if you are interested. It's a wondrous action platformer game themed around the Balan Theater, led by the enigmatic maestro named Balan. The stars of the show, Emma and Leo, will use special abilities from the multitude of characterful costumes as they adventure in the bizarre and imaginary land of Wonderworld. Here, memories and vistas from the real world mix with the things that people hold dear. 12 different tales await our stars in the Wonderworld, each with their own unique quirks. They will explore all corners of these labyrinth stages filled with a myriad of tricks and traps to get to the heart of each story. I'm talking about it for a long time, but Square Enix definitely needs to establish new IPs and new games that they can rely on performing well, and let's see how Balan Wonderworld turns out. It'll be dropping March 26th. Next up, we have a brand new game from Hazelight Studios that brought you A Way Out, and this time around we have It Takes Two. It Takes Two is an action-adventure title, and it's specifically designed for split-screen cooperative multiplayer, which means it must be played with another player, either locally or online. But, you know, if you played A Way Out and you know how that game worked, that game ended up being tremendous as a cooperative experience, and I have a lot of hope for It Takes Two. I feel like it can be another one of those games that do really showcase cooperative gaming, just because co-op games is something that I think a lot of people see as a dying art. So when you have a studio like Hazelight that is really trying to make that their forte, I find that to be pretty remarkable. And it notes, embark on the craziest journey of your life in It Takes Two. Invite a friend to join for free with remote play together across an abundance of gleefully disruptive co-op gameplay challenge. This is a genre-building, bending platform adventure where only one thing's for certain: we're better together. It notes, pure co-op perfection, a gleefully disruptive gameplay, and a universal tale of relationships. Discover a touching and heartfelt story of the challenges in getting along. Help Cody and May learn how to overcome their differences. Meet a diverse cast of strange and endearing characters. Join forces and go on an adventure you'll treasure together. So this one is due out on March 26th as well, and if you're looking for a good co-op game, this will probably fit the bill. Next up, we have Mundaun. Mundaun is a lovingly hand-penciled horror tale set in a dark, secluded valley of the Alps. Explore various areas full of secrets to discover, survive hostile encounters, drive vehicles, fill your inventory, and solve a variety of handcrafted puzzles. This one definitely has a unique art style, to say the least. I find it enticing. I don't know if everybody's gonna get into it, but it's definitely different and sets itself apart from the pack right away, being a hand-drawn horror title. I don't think we see those too often. Definitely going for more of a psychological forte if you do watch the trailer, and I got pretty eerie vibes off of that, so we'll see how that turns out. Key features note, immerse yourself in a unique setting in alpine world where reality and myth intertwine. Experience a unique grayscale aesthetic thanks to hand-penciled textures. Explore varied and open levels from green meadows to snowy peaks. Beware of the creatures roaming the landscape. This one is scheduled for release on March 16th, and if you're a fan of horror games, it might be something to keep on your radar. Next up, we have Overcooked All You Can Eat coming to PlayStation 4 on March 23rd. This is the content from Overcooked 2 and Overcooked 1. And that means you've got 200 plus levels from both games, including all downloadable content, 7 new levels, and a brand new assist mode, fully remade in up to 4K and running at a smooth 60 frames per second. Cross-platform multiplayer will also be made available for chefs playing on all platforms in a free post-launch update. Game notes, it includes new accessibility options and an assist mode, which adds the option to increase level times, boost scores awarded for each meal, lengthen recipe times, and the ability to turn off order expiration. The accessibility option includes colorblind-friendly chef indicators, a scalable user interface, and ability to enable dyslexia-friendly text. Key features note, multiple multiplayer courses, exclusive new kitchens and cooks, trophies, achievements, all that good stuff, and cooking for all again with those accessibility options. This is due out on March 23rd. Next up, we have the latest game in a relatively iconic franchise in Harvest Moon. We have Harvest Moon Wonderworld coming to the PlayStation 4 on March 5th. Harvest Moon Wonderworld is noted to be the biggest Harvest Moon game in its history, having wide areas and exciting villages to explore while exploring a farm life. Harvest Moon Wonderworld is looking for global appeal. Take a trip around the world in the latest entry in the long-running franchise. You'll ride camels across the deserts of Pastilla, venture deep into the snowy mountains, and even visit a volcano near the cozy mountain. Can you imagine a world without cabbage, tomatoes, or even carrots? Believe it or not, that's the world you'll find yourself in the beginning of Harvest Moon Wonderworld, as the harvest goddess, the queen of crops herself, has vanished. Key features note, explore 5 unique and colorful areas, the sprawling grasslands. Play as a boy or girl and woo one of 5 handsome bachelors and 5 beautiful bachelorettes, each with their own unique personality and backstory. Raise and keep animals such as cows, sheep, goats, and even reindeer, and use your Expando farm to easily travel from one area to another. Harvest Moon definitely doesn't have the buzz that it once had, but it's still a franchise that a lot of people hold near and dear. So we'll see if this resonates at a high level. It'll be out on March 5th. Next up, we have a title being published by P-Cuban developer Katawaka Games, and that is Root Film. That'll be dropping in March 19th, and it's a game that is probably going to cater towards a more niche audience, and I don't think it's going to be for everyone. However, the game is a pretty interesting title from its story background. It notes, become your own detective. The intuition mechanic allows players to acquire keywords during in-game conversations. Once activated, intuition reveals words on screen that are essential to investigations and confrontation. So this is a game that is very much story-driven. Don't expect it to feature, action-heavy gameplay or anything like that. However, if you are into story-driven games, visual novels, and things of that nature, this is probably going to be something up your alley, and I definitely like the edition that they have, the limited edition. This looks like something that it could be worth of value in the future. Take that for what you will if you're interested from that standpoint, including a 100-page art book with environmental scenery, character illustrations, all of that stuff, but it is out March 19th. Next up, we have Maquette, which is coming out March 2nd, a first-person recursive puzzle game that takes you into a world where every building, plant, and object are simultaneously tiny and staggeringly huge. And this one, I'm not big on puzzle games, but I like the presentation style, and also a game that, from when you actually see some of the motion and gameplay, very unique how it's presented in the world getting bigger and bigger, but at the same time, when it's small, having an immense amount of detail. Again, puzzle games aren't necessarily my cup of tea, but I do know a lot of people are super into them, and Maquette might be one to check out come March 2nd. Lastly, I do want to quickly take you guys through 3 upgrades that are coming. Talked about this a little while ago, but let's briefly cover those as well. These are former PlayStation 4 games coming to the PlayStation 5 with improved visuals, frame rates, resolution, all that good stuff. Yakuza Like a Dragon, finally coming to the PlayStation 5 on March the 2nd. This one came out back in November, inexplicably got a Xbox Series release on day 1, but PlayStation 5 owners had to wait a little while. It will be coming March 2nd. Marvel's Avengers, everybody's favorite game of 2020, might be putting it a little bit of a stretch. Yeah, it disappointed a lot of people, but nowadays you can get it relatively cheap. Do I think it's worth $60? Absolutely not, but if you can find it like south of $15, you can have some fun with it. The longevity of the game really isn't here, and I feel like that's the drawback. But for like $10, it'll be pretty decent, and hopefully Square Enix stays committed to the game and it does get better and better. And lastly, Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time is getting an upgrade. This game already looks really good on the PlayStation 4, plays really well, but on the PlayStation 5, upgraded resolution, visuals are going to be a little bit better. The game is great in general, and you can get it regularly for like $30 to $40 now, and at that price point, absolutely worth it. So that's going to conclude this video. Again, March relatively quiet in terms of big game releases, honestly. One of the weaker months in terms of big budget releases. However, still some games that maybe you want to add to your wish list. I think Balan Wonderworld has a lot of potential. It Takes Two, given that Hazelight dropped a way out and that game was incredible. Definitely a lot of potential there, and then you have other titles that are relatively interesting as well. That's going to wrap up this one. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.